Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Brandon from Audio Addiction. This is the first video, or a first live video back since Thanksgiving. I hope all of you had a lovely Thanksgiving and just had a good time with family and friends. So, please, we are going to be giving a listen to arguably one of the coolest bands I've had on in quite a bit. And I've had them on before, but they are just fantastic. So this band is called Despite Exile. I will leave links in the description as well to go give a watch to our previous interview we did, which was great when they talk about this new album Wound, and we got to go a little bit more in depth on that. So if you are interested, please go check that out first. I feel like it gives you kind of a better idea of like the album itself. However, if you are watching this live currently, just hang out. It'll be fun. But yeah, they are an Italian deathcore. I guess they're like I guess they're kind of like more progressive deathcore. But I listened to Raven Mirrors, the first song off the album, and it was the first music video I watched. And first of all, music video fantastic, but as well as that, the musicality of this band is insane. Definitely a band that if you haven't heard of them before, you need to absolutely go listen to this band, because they have been putting out some fantastic work. And I think this is, you know, I only had listened to one song and I already feel very strongly about this album already. So I am very curious on how the rest of the album is going to sound. So we're going to be going through the entire thing, all 11 tracks right now live. So if you are hanging out, thank you for hanging out. And if you are watching this in the past, also thank you for hanging out. Much appreciated. But yes, we're going to be getting through the entire thing, and I'm very excited to get into it. So if you are into like progressive deathcore in any sort of, or just deathcore in general, I don't need to tell you more times than this. This is the band to go give a watch and a listen to. So we're going to get through all the songs. Let me know if the volume is too high. I did edit the volume a little bit, so let me know if it is good or if not. So would love to know. But anyway, this is the first song, Raven Mirrors. This is the first one that I listened to, but I am very excited to get into this, because this is one I am like pretty familiar with. I haven't listened to it since the time I recorded the interview, so it's going to seem a little bit more fresh than normal. So very excited to get into this. Please go check out Despite Exile. I'll leave links below to go give them some love. So let's get into the first track, Raven Mirrors, right now, guys. Oh my god, so menacing. Oh my god, I love this band. Unreal. The double bass, man. Just listen to that shit. Holy fuck. Unreal. 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 This is so ridiculous. Oh my god. Oh my god. Guys, that was track 1. This is called Riven Mirrors. The title track, or not title track, the first song off of Despite Exile's newest record, Wound. You can check the links below to go give it some love. Go pick it up. I am very excited to get my merch and album in the mail. I'm hoping for a vinyl release. I know that's going to be like well far in advance, but you know, Chelsea, I'm gonna say it again. I hope for a vinyl release. That's all I'm saying. It's the only thing I want for Christmas this year. But yes, Riven Mirrors. This was one that I had listened to originally, so I feel like the shock value of it is still up there, certainly, but I think maybe a slight bit less just because I have listened to it already. However, this is insane. Like, I feel like if you are a big fan of Lorna Shore's newest album, Pain Remains, which I will wind up doing a review of, I promise, before this month's over with, this band is falling very much in that footstep already. And I know that they had been trying to like tweak the record very much so, and I think they have tweaked it that much more for the better, because these songs are insane. Like, the double bass work on this song specifically is nuts. It rivals that of Lorna Shore. I know I don't want to speak out of context because I also love Lorna Shore as well, but man, the double bass work from their drummer is fantastic. And I just love the real like anthemic sort of like sounds that are going on within this song. I think that it just has this really cool like orchestral sort of backing to it that I really enjoyed, and I think it was a nice addition to the song specifically. Jay sounds like an absolute monster, which I love. His vocals just continue to impress me so much. And I had them on like a few years ago prior to the more current time that I've had them on, and just to see their growth as an artist and as a band collectively, I think that they just do such a fantastic work. And I think by adding Alessandro, who's their newest guitar player and who was also in the most current interview, I think it just added a lot of lifeblood to it. And I'm glad that they took a lot of time to work out these songs, because there's so much intent and so much heart behind the way that these songs are put together, and you can hear it because there's something about it that just is it just has all of the strong feelings that I love about this band. And I think that the screaming, the lyricism is just impeccable. I would love to go through all of the lyricism with you, but I think that would be like a 5-hour long stream, and that would be nuts. So I definitely won't be doing that, but I will leave their Genius link. Hopefully the link will have the lyrics up. Not entirely sure, but I will find a way to find the lyrics for you guys, because each song specifically too, and I mentioned it in the I mentioned it in the interview, and I will also mention it here on their YouTube page. I believe they have all the songs up, and then more specifically in the description of each song, they have a little excerpt about the song specifically, how it was written, and then on top of that, like the lyrics behind the songs. And I think that that's really cool, something that I feel like a lot of people who are Despite Exile fans might be familiar with and understand. And then for people who are new, it might be a cool little Easter egg to find out. So definitely go check those description links in the songs itself. Definitely worth the extra bit of information, and as well as that, I think it's just a really cool perspective on the song, because from the interview that we had not too long ago, and I don't want to keep referencing it because I want you guys to go check it out if you have the opportunity to. there's so much that went into all of these songs and the way that this album was put together, and you can tell that this is they want to put their best foot forward. And so, I feel like there's something about this album that everything's just hitting. And I even said this as well. I just think that there's something about this band that everything was clicking on that song specifically, and that I imagine will carry over into the rest of this album. So I'm glad that I took the time to not listen to it so I can have this moment with you guys, because it allows me to really kind of think about the song specifically and really kind of digest and understand kind of what they're going for. And I think that they have just absolutely nailed it. I'm glad that this is the first song to kind of start you off on, because it goes from like 0 to 100 in like 2 seconds, and I think that that's awesome. And it really starts the record off strong. So definitely love River Mirrors already. I already knew I loved it, but just kind of hearing it in this context of the album, I think is really cool. So we're going to be getting through all of them. I hope you'll be joining me for the ride on this entirety of this record, because I think it's going to blow me away. And so if you want to watch me get eviscerated live, then this is the moment to do it. So we are going to take a listen to track number 2. This one is called Scepter. We are going to give it a listen and absolutely just freaking rip it up. So let's give this boy a listen. I love these ethereal elements. So sick. Oh. Don't do it to me. I feel like this is going to be nuts. I'm already feeling it. Oh my god! Oh my god, Jay. So nuts. Ooh. God, this is so insane. God. I have a bad feeling about this. Oh my god! What the hell? Oh my god, this is so fucking sick. Oh, the way it's layered up with the fucking violin. Oh my god. Oh, a little bit of cleans. All right. I like this. Oh my God, what a rhythm change. That was so sick. I'm gonna mess my hands up. I keep hitting it on my chest. Oh my God, this is probably the most interesting track thus far. Ooh. Oh my God. I can't. Oh my God. This band is ridiculous. Guys, if you're just tuning in, this is track 2 called Scepter. Whew. Well, first and foremost, this is the longest song on the record, chopping in at a whopping 5 minutes and 8 seconds, which I think is really important to notate first and foremost, because I think I said first and foremost twice, which I'm sorry. I'm not very good at this whole speaking thing. But I think that this song, for being 5 minutes long, I think it holds super, super well. I think a lot of the times when I listen to bands and I have a song that's maybe a little bit more than, you know, the 5 minute mark, it's just like that's tough to kind of keep someone's attention for that long. I will say I'm probably in the minority of that, because I do love listening to like longer songs, especially if they have a great flow and a great like thought process in regards to the song. And I feel like in this aspect, for the song being 5 minutes long, it holds super well. And I think there is enough rhythmic changes, there's enough like sonic, like sound wise changes, and I think it just makes for a really interesting song that I personally really like. This one overall, I think if I had to kind of give an idea of what the album I would imagine the rest of it is going to sound like, I would definitely recommend Scepter. I will revisit that thought when we get to the end of this album, but I really love the way that it kind of encompasses this thought process of, okay, like, let's do everything we possibly can that this band has done, and let's put it into one song, because it definitely reminds me a lot of older Despite Exile songs, but I also feel like it takes a lot of influences from their newer sound and the way that they were able to find that out. So I like that this is kind of like a good combination of those two things. As well as that, I love some of the more like traditional kind of like more metalcore style breakdown. I thought that was really cool and very interesting comparatively, because I know they're more so a deathcore, like more proggy sort of deathcore band, but I like that they kind of add those sort of metalcore like breakdowns and feelings into the song. So that was really neat as well. And Jay, let me just tell you, this man goes off in this track. I love the way that he is able to kind of show off and highlight his different vocal stylings, because you can hear stuff where it's like kind of more mid like good screams, and then he hits you with some gutturals, and like he hits you with some nice high screaming. It's great. I also like the fact that I think in that bridge portion there was a little clean singing, which I thought was very interesting as well. I don't really feel like they highlighted or touched upon that as much in previous works, as well as probably the more current music as well. So I'm curious if this is kind of a taste of what's to come, if they are going to include more clean singing. I'm not saying like a full-on like clean singing song, but it's nice to hear the variety and the different options going on in the song. So definitely really cool to hear that as well from them. And I think, again, rhythmically, their drummer, chef's kiss. Like, he's fantastic, and he's really holding a lot of these songs together super well. Like, it could very easily just become this insane, like, let's see how, like, crazy we can make the song. But I think that by them kind of reeling it in a little bit, I think that they keep a lot of that sort of straightforward energy when it comes to the song structure. And I think, again, getting back to the first point I made about the song being 5 minutes long, I think it has a lot to do with the way that the song is put together and the way that it's structured, because it definitely has a good flow to it, and there's certain parts that I was certainly not expecting from the song, but definitely landed super well, and I love that about this, about it thus far. So this one is going to be very tough to beat, I would argue, because it has a lot of the things that I enjoy, particularly within the heavier scene of music, but also I think there is a lot of variety and a lot of different things that I feel like maybe Riven Mirrors didn't quite hit on. And again, that being maybe like 2 minutes less, like a minute and a half less than what Scepter is. I think that has a lot to do with it, certainly, but I also will say that it is also much longer, and I think it's a little bit more focused in that aspect. So I like it, but both of the songs thus far have been absolute heat. So we are going to get into the third track, which is called After the Deluge, and I'm very excited to get into this one because this is one that I haven't heard. I haven't heard all of these. Like I said at the beginning of the video, the only one I did listen to was Riven Mirrors, and that was just because I wanted to kind of get an idea of their sound, and because they've released new music when I had them on to interview. So very excited to get into After the Deluge. I'm already on the high of Scepter, so I feel like this is going to be just as good. So let's get into After the Deluge, track number 3. Let's give it a listen. Oh my god. This is an interesting riff. Oh, wow, I was right. This is very, like, proggy. I like it. Clean singing is fantastic. Oh, that's so dirty. Oh, I love it. riff is sick. Sick fill. Oh man, they just keep flipping me on my head here. Guys, that was track 3. This is called After the Deluge. This is off of Despite Exile's newest record, Wound. You can check the links below to go give it a listen, go buy it. Please go support these boys. They're awesome. So go give them some love. But anyway, this one I think was arguably the most different of the songs that we've listened to thus far. I did make a comment about there being cleans on the next song or like another song off the album, and I'm glad that I was not wrong about that. It definitely has this really cool, unique kind of clean vocals. I love that. I love that like heavier bands are starting to include clean singing. More notably, Counterparts is another band that includes clean singing into their music, and I know they're more on the more melodic hardcore sort of side of things. But I like that this kind of has that real cool anthemic. I don't know why I said anthemic. I obviously am not very good at speaking. Anthemic sort of vibe to it. I think that a lot of these songs have this real kind of like you can climb the mountain kind of a like vibe. I don't even know what I'm saying honestly, but it has this sort of like push to the music, and I think that that's really cool, and I love that sort of aspect of this genre of music and what Despite Exile is deciding to do on this album. I will also say the cleans were really unique within the chorus. I thought that was really cool and a nice like change of pace, because very easily we could have gone and done like a really stupid heavy like screaming part, but for them to go in this sort of clean realms and do more clean singing, I really do appreciate the sort of thought process behind that, and I do think that it does make a lot of a difference when it comes down to the song process and the way that they sort of crafted it. I think there's a lot more attention to detail in a song like this because there's a lot more moving parts, and I love the fact that again they were able to kind of fit clean singing in a place that didn't seem very awkward, but also really fit sort of the vibe of the song. And I think that mainly started off with that guitar riff at the beginning. I wasn't really sure if I was going to like it or not, but then once the drums came in and like the whole mix kind of like came out and came to be, that was really when I was like, oh, okay. Like it all is starting to click together. And then by the time the chorus kind of got to that portion, I was really like, oh yeah, this is definitely a really sick song. So I always like when maybe the song kind of starts off a little bit rocky in the thought process and then really kind of ramps up and does stuff that's different. So I think this song again really sick, really unique, and I think is probably the more unique songs that we've listened to thus far, and in terms of adding clean singing and making it special in a song like this, I think they did a fantastic job of including that. And again, love the sort of orchestral overtones of a lot of these songs. I think some are a little bit stronger than others, but I like that that's kind of like the commonality between a lot of these songs is the way that the song are not necessarily structured, but the way that they include certain things within the songs and the album as a whole. I think it really ties everything together, and then when you listen through to the album, I think it gives you more of an immersive experience, because you're like, oh, okay, like they're trying to pull from this like melodic line in a previous song, so I think it makes it more interesting. I definitely like it. So is one song to check out if you haven't already. Please go give this one a listen, as the rest of the album is also fantastic, so please go give it some love. But anyway, we're going to check it. I can't even speak. We're going to move it into track 4, which is Custodian, and very excited to listen to this. Thus far, I have not listened to, I don't think, any of these songs, so maybe, I think if my memory serves me correct, I think that Alessandro, I think he said he liked A Pale Glimmer of Light, I'm pretty sure. So, or one of them said Scepter. Honestly, I'm going to have to find out, but it's all very good thus far. So, kudos to the boys. They're killing it. So, let's get into track 4, Custodian, right now.
Alright.
This is so heavy. Holy shit. Oh my god. Oh my god, what the fuck? Oh my god! Oh my god! This is a ripper. Holy shit. Unbelievable. Oh god. Oh, this is so sick. Oh my god. I was not prepared for that song. Guys, this was track 4, Custodian, off of Despite Exile's newest album, Wound. Check the links in the description. Oh my god. Well, first of all, that song started off like really slow, and I was like, oh no, is this not gonna be, I was waiting for it to be kind of like, a little bit of a slower paced song, and then my god, like, it just reminds me of that scene from Batman Dark Knight Rises, where Bane just picks up Batman, just breaks him on his knee. That's what I feel like right now. Like this song is nuts. This one is probably my favorite thus far, just for the sheer like shock value of the song. Jay, again, very similar to Riven Mirrors, I'm pretty sure, or if I said Inceptor, I know it was one of the first two songs, but this dude sounds like a monster. I just want to say, this is like arguably some of the best screaming on this on this album thus far. I'm gonna call it now. I hope that I'm wrong, because I'm pretty sure there are some songs that I'm ready to just get eviscerated by. But yes, this one was fantastic. I loved the breakdown on this track. Oh my god, I ascended. You know, you saw me ascend for like a good like 30 seconds. You know, I was just like, my god, this is nuts. But yeah, I think instrumentally this song, like, there's parts where it's just like, okay, this is like got like a really cool kind of like guitar structure, and then they just absolutely drop you on your neck with like a blistering breakdown. And I think that is such a really cool dichotomy in the song. The guitar solo was absolutely nuts. Didn't necessarily need to be there, but I'm so glad for the addition, because I think it just adds that sort of, again, I don't want to say over the top, because that could be perceived in like a negative connotation, but I think just the way that the songs are structured and the way that it's put out, it just like adds to the appeal of this of the song as a whole. So I love the fact that there was some really cool guitar solo in there. Again, not that I was expecting one, but it was a very nice addition to have, certainly. So this one is probably going to be my favorite thus far. I am very curious if any other song can kick it out of the top slot for now, but I honestly feel like there's probably a pretty good chance it's going to be kicked out. But yeah, Custodian, fantastic. I absolutely love this song, so go give this one a listen. But we're going to move it on to the next track, which is Sunder. This is track 5. We are roughly about halfway through the album, so I am feeling pretty good, but I am very excited for the second half of this album, because it's been a good ride thus far. Been really enjoying it, but I feel like the second half is going to be pretty nuts, so I'm very excited. So let's get in track 5 and then get to that halfway point, and then we can talk about the album a little bit more. But let's give a listen to track 5, which is Sunder. Let's give it a listen now. Nice. All right. Oh my god. Interesting rhythm change. Ooh, I like the push. Insane. Doesn't help but put a big smile on your face. Oh my god, this is insane. Give me a little break, I'm glad. I catch my breath. Nice cleans in the background, I like that. God, what lows. Woo! That was sick. That ending was awesome. Oh, I'm getting a workout here. Anyway, that was Sunder, track 5 off of Despite Exile's newest album, Wound. Check the links below. Go pick it up. Go support my Italian brothers, my lovers, my boys. I really put a lot into that sentence, but it was a very loaded sentence. But anyway, I really dug this one a lot too. I think this one is by far the most interesting one. I would probably put it in the same category as After the Deluge. It was a little bit more surprising. I think the way that they write heavy music is so intriguing to me, because I feel like in certain aspects they go the route that you feel like they're gonna go down, right? They have some really cool parts where you're like, okay, they're definitely gonna throw a breakdown in here, and you're like, okay, that's really cool and familiar, right? And then there are certain parts where you're like, ooh, they hit you with something different, like in that bridge portion, the nice clean singing, the like the atmospheric texture, the ambience going on in the song. It was a nice like change of pace, and I know that they've kind of highlighted that, you know, throughout this album thus far. But it was a really nice addition to know that that was in the song specifically, and as well as that, I think it was really cool to know that those sounds were a part of just kind of, again, piggybacking off of a point I made on a previous, thing where I just said that, a lot of the sort of sounds that you hear on this album, I think really coincide very well and are very cognitive. There were certain moments where I was like, okay, this reminds me a little bit more of like After the Deluge, and then, some of the, maybe some of the more breakdown-y sort of parts like remind me a little bit more of Scepter. And I think that there's a cool way that they're interweaving these thought processes in the songs, and I think it really, really highlights their ability as songwriters to kind of interweave those thought processes together. I think lyrically, again, can't really touch on that, but I think lyrically, they kind of are writing in terms of a storyline, if my memory serves me correct. So it's cool to see that. It's cool to see the process, even though I'm maybe not 100% on all of the lyrics. It's really cool to see that there's just kind of there's again, very similarly to how they're writing the songs. I think there's a lot of thought that is put into the actual lyricisms of the songs too. Sorry, I have something in my eye. I think there's a lot of processes and thoughts going on relating to the lyricism of the songs too. So really enjoyed that. This one, especially that breakdown at the end, that was really tight. But I think Jay, again, he's unreal as a vocalist. I think he is absolutely smashing it. There's some really cool parts where I was like, God, why is he throwing these gutturals in? He doesn't have to, but it's nice that they're there, because I think it adds just this, again, level of dark, I don't even know what to describe it as, but it's just got this real, just strong hit, and I absolutely love that about this band thus far. And being, again, halfway through the record, it is very cool to see their musical process, because all of these songs have been just good steps up to the next point in their musical journey. But I also feel like it's also really cool to see their strengths and what they're able to do, and how they're able to kind of do different things throughout the entirety of this album. And being, again, halfway through and being absolutely stoked on how this entire record has sounded thus far has been really cool. So we are going to give a listen to track 6. This is from The Black Beyond, and we're going to give this bad boy a listen. This one's, I think, the shortest one. Yes, it is the shortest song on this record, so it might be kind of more 11 interlude, but we'll find out. So let's give it a listen. This is cool. Very loathe-ish. I feel like I'm right, unless they just go ape shit. Just a possibility, certainly. I think I might be right. This is kind of like an interlude. Very neat, though. The textures on this song are really cool. All right, guys, that was track 6, called "From the Black Beyond." This one was really cool. I think it reminds me a lot of like what Loathe does, or like Silent Planet, where they have this really cool, ethereal, ambient, kind of really like textured interlude. So I really enjoyed that. It was a nice little change of pace, and I think it's a good song to kind of put in the middle, because you know, I've already, like, I feel like my brain is like so like insanely like, oh my god, I'm waiting for the next breakdown. It's cool to get like a nice reprieve from that, and I think that this song certainly offers that, in regards to the sort of like, not like, there's no screaming, there's no singing, it's just like this beautiful like arranged track, and I like the fact that it's just not like it's not like there has to be a bunch of things going on. I like the fact that it just kind of just like has this real kind of like calming, peaceful sort of like vibe to it, you know. So this was really cool. Nothing to, I guess, stray too far from in regards to, you know, the actual songwriting of it. I just think that it's a really like nice, beautiful like interlude sort of track that I think fits well right smack dab in the middle of this album. So good choice, and I think that if it was intentional to put it here, it was a very good spot to put it at, because definitely felt some type of way after listening to Sunder. I felt like pretty good. So we're gonna move into track 7, which is Pale Glimmer of Light. Very excited to give this one a listen. So we are going to hop right into it. I like that it carries over too as well. That's really neat. Nice eye screaming. Well, Fry, I like it. Oh, this is fucking sick. riffing and chorus are so nuts. Alright guys, if you're just tuning in, this was track 7 called A Pale Glimmer of Light. This is off of Despite Exile's newest album, Wound, which you can check out down below. Man, this one was very cool as well. I think I've really enjoyed all of these thus far. I think they all have... I think the coolest thing about this album thus far too is that I think each song is so different in that aspect of the way that the songs are put together. Because I think, like, you could very easily be like, oh, Scepter's really cool because it's one of the longer songs, and I think there's a lot more I think there's a lot of like branching paths that you can go down in regards to the way that the song is put together, and by the time it gets to the end of that 5 minutes, you're just like, man, this was an entire journey. I feel like with some of the songs that are maybe like in that sort of 4-minute ballpark range, which there are a couple, I think that they allow for them to expand a little bit more on that sort of like, I don't want to say like out there, but I think there is a way that they go about writing songs that has this unique take on, heavy music. More specifically, this song had some really cool riffs. I like the fact that I think they had this one part where maybe, I don't know if it's the harmonies or something like that, get like pitch shift up so it sounds like real squealy. And I like that. I think that is such a cool little guitar sound that, again, you get to hear a little bit, especially more so in like the bands that I can think of as like maybe like more of a Knock Loose song, or like I know Wage War also does that as well, where you can kind of hear like little weird things that work within the song. And I think it makes the overall listening experience a little bit more enjoyable because all of the songs have this sort of unique aspect to them. They all can be like really heavy or cool like melodic portions of the song, but I think the whole concept as a whole is really cool, where you could listen to a song and really kind of specifically know that this is like A Pale Glimmer of Light, or this is Custodian, or this is that song. And I think there is a uniqueness in having that sort of sound for each specific song, but I also think that they're not so far off that there isn't a collective like thought process within the entire album. So I think they are different enough to be different songs, but I don't feel like they are segregated in that aspect where, you listen to one song and then like the sound completely differentiates. I think there is a lot of cohesive elements that go into this album, and despite them all having different kind of stances on heaviness, the way that they kind of go about song structure, the way that the rhythms are, they still have differences in that aspect. But I think musically you can hear it's like, okay, this is a Despite Exile song because it has that sort of cognitive thought. So I do appreciate that. I think Jay sounds like an absolute beast. Again, I know I keep saying that, but genuinely, like, I am absolutely shocked by some of the screaming going on within this album thus far. He has really kind of showed off a lot of his strengths as a vocalist, and I also feel like he's shown off his strengths as a producer as well, because he did produce this album, and it sounds insane. Like, I think it's such a cool thing to know that not only is he in the like role of being the screamer and the front man of the band, but I also feel like he has taken a lot of time and effort into putting these songs together and like doing them a justice, because very easily he could have just like been like, these are okay. Like, let me really focus on my screaming. I think he has taken both aspects from not only the screaming, but as well as just the kind of production and the overall quality of songs, because they all sound really big and really heavy, and I think they are very much in your face, which I absolutely love. So definitely a cool song to check out. I think all of these have been really interesting. It's going to be very hard for me to pick a favorite, I think, off this record, but we still have 4 more tracks that I have to listen to, so the verdict is not out. But yeah, this one was also really cool and very interesting. I think they've kind of switched up the formula a little bit, so I'm curious what this next track number 8, Lament, is going to sound like. So we'll give this bad boy a listen. Different intro. I like this. Different vibes. I can't. Oh my god. Oh. Wow. All right. I like this. Oh my god. Oh, I feel like a breakdown's coming. Oh, I was right. All right, guys, that was track number 8. This one was called Lament. Ooh, this one was, I would say this one's up there with Custodian for me. I think this one is definitely amongst one of my favorites. I think the way that this song kind of changes over the 4.5 minutes roughly of this song, I think is very interesting. The beginning, wasn't sure of how to feel about it. It was a little bit slower, but then once the song kind of kicked in, it just went full bore, and I love that. I think that I think it's cool to see them shift into different kind of like genre, like things within the genre, like deathcore elements, death metal elements, like black gaze kind of sounds. Then they have stuff that's a little bit more like, metalcore-y. I think there's really a good plethora of different sounds going on within this song, and a couple different songs throughout this record where I feel like they really kind of just went off and just did something that is unbelievable. And I really like the fact that this song specifically just has some really cool changes, some really unique like melodic points within the song, but then as well as that, I think rhythmically I love that it changes up so frequently as well. Nothing like so crazy, it's not like a mathcore sort of song, but I do appreciate the sort of like rhythm changes, the way that kind of the tempo changes, even like melodically a little bit, it also changes as well. So I do like the fact that they just really were like, all right, let's just go out and do a couple different sounds, and like let's see how we can kind of fit all of those sounds collectively in a song. And they did a fantastic job. I think on the second half of this album, this is one of my favorites and probably one of the more standout tracks to myself. But this one was really fantastic, and I think it hits on all of the points of the record thus far, which has those sort of death metal sort of sounds, like maybe a little bit of black gaze, a little bit of deathcore, a little bit of metalcore, even a little hardcore action, like more melodic hardcore sort of stuff. I think they really run the gamut of different sounds, and this one is a very good one that is kind of like a chameleon and has different sorts of sides to the song. So definitely enjoy this one. Arguably one of my favorites on the album, but we still have 3 more songs to go through, so maybe one of them will make it further up on the list. But let's give a listen to track number 9. This one is called Golden Shards. Let's give this bad boy a spin. Oh. Always unexpected. Oh, nice. Descending riff. That was tight. Ooh! Oh, so sick. Oh, that ending was so tight. Guys, that was track number 9 called Golden Shards. It's off of Despite Exile's newest album, Wound. You can check the links below to go give it a listen. Honestly, this album is absolutely destroying me. I can feel it. Like, man, I am just headbanging my head off right now, and my neck is killing me. So that's how I know I'm getting old, but it's okay. You know, we'll survive. But getting back to the song specifically, I really thought this was a great mix. You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of like classic metalcore, you know, like a Kill Switch Engage. It reminds me a lot of that sort of All That Remains, that kind of style of like old school metalcore, but then also having like some really interesting deathcore, you know, like notes to kind of jump off of, you know. It felt very much in that sort of lane. And I don't know if necessarily those were the vibes that they were going for specifically in this track, but it definitely reminds me a lot of kind of like a good combination of like old school metalcore and like modern like deathcore infusion as well, which is really nice. I think Jay sounded fantastic as well as per usual, but as well as that, I think the thing that has shocked me the most with this entire record is the way that they've been able to kind of like smoothly transition into different sounds and different sort of genre like changeovers, I guess, per se, if that's the word I can think of. I think the way that they go about shifting their thought processes in regards to making the song sound different and having kind of a different vibe to each portion of the song, and just to be able to pivot like that so well, I think it makes me like appreciate these songs a little bit more, because it's so easily where you could be like, okay, this one part where like the rhythm's at like this tempo, and then like you kick it up some BPMs, and then it makes it obviously much faster and more difficult. The way that they kind of are able to not only circumvent that, but as well as that, just to be able to do it so well, but so efficiently. Like the way that like some of the breakdowns hit, and the way that some of the songs you know, with in terms of like the guitar riffs, the drumming, you know, the bass playing as well. I think there is just a way that they put these songs together, and it is very methodical on where they decide that this should go here or that should go here. And, you know, as someone who has been listening to music for quite some time, it is really cool to see that changeover in musicality, and for them to kind of be like, okay, this is what we're trying to do, like this is what we're going to pivot to next, and then completely change it over to something different, and then kind of have something that kind of fits both of those tiers, and then is able to kind of fuse those two sounds together and then close out the song. I think that's really cool, and I think Golden Shards does a really great job of infusing those two sounds together. But yeah, really enjoyed this one as well. Like I said, I don't really have anything bad to say about this song either, and I think it is just another really fantastic track. So we are going to move on to track 10. This is called Hymn of Failure, and we're going to give this bad boy a listen. So let's give it
Fragile
cool. I like this. Nice. Oh, wow. This is cool. I like the real, like, extended outro. That's nice. Alright, guys, that was track 10. That was Hymn of Failure. This is off of Despite Exile's newest album, Wound. You can check the links in the description to go pick it up. Please go support our Italian homies in Despite Exile. They are fantastic human beings, and I really want them to create more music. So please, if you can support them, buy it, pick it up. You know, your boy already picked it up. Very exciting. And I'm excited to get it shipped to me all the way from Italy, baby. Let's go. But anyway, getting back to the track, Hymn of Failure. Very similarly to my thoughts with Golden Shards, I feel like they do a masterful job of understanding, like, their roots in that aspect. There is a really cool attention to detail in regards to this song specifically, which I think that they take a lot of influence from, again, that early 2000s, like, metalcore sort of sound. Again, like, All That Remains, Killswitch Engage. I'm trying to think of some other, like, kind of classic artists within that genre, but, like, those sorts of bands, right? Like Bullet for My Valentine. They're really pulling from really great metal acts, even like a Trivium as well. But I feel like more specifically like a Killswitch Engage or like an All That Remains. But the riffs are so, like, have this sort of, like, nostalgia to me. Like, when I'm listening to Hymn of Failure, I'm like, okay, this definitely, like, has some notes of the past, but then, like, you get to the point where there's, like, a really sick, like, breakdown and you're like, holy shit, like, I can't believe this is in the actual song, right? And there's this real kind of cool, like, orchestral sort of deathcore sort of sound to it, and I think that along with this sort of, like, old school metalcore sound, I think that they really encompass a really interesting sound that on this latter half of the album, they're really trying to, like, I would imagine they're really trying to dig through their roots here, and I really like that. You know, I think their three guitar players, I know Alessandra, who I had, and then Francesco was the other guitar player I had on the previous pod. But yeah, all three of them are fantastic guitar players, and I don't feel like either one of them really oversteps their boundaries in that aspect, where I think when we had the conversation in the interview, you know, I think they had a lot of room to, like, I wouldn't say argue in the necessary sense of it being a negative. I think they really were trying to argue their point and trying to figure out what ideas might work best for Despite Exile. And I think that these songs have this sort of cognition that they're like, okay, well, we want to take stuff that we know and love, that we're familiar with, and we have a lot of influence from, but how can we spin it in a way that would make it, A, interesting for the listener, and B, like, keep it really cool to the aspect of, like, okay, we're in this sort of deathcore space. Like, how do we make it seem like more like us? And I think that this is the like perfect middle ground of like old school meets new school in that aspect. And I think they create a really beautiful fusion, and I really like it a lot. I don't know if that was their intention in the first place, but to me, that's kind of what I was just like, man, this is really sick, and I like it. And I think that a lot of the songs, again, thus far, have been in that sort of same lane. So, been really cool to listen to, and I'm getting really upset because I think we're at the end of the album, the title track, the final song, and it's been a really cool ride, and I think that this band has a lot of cool things going for them, and I hope that this implores you to go check them out because they are awesome. So this is the final song, track 11, Wound. We're rounding out the rest of this review. I know, big sad, but we will listen to this with all the love in our hearts. So let's give Wound a final send off, and this is the final track off of the title track of this album, I guess. I don't even know what I'm saying, but let's get into it. Wound, right now. Is this gonna be an outro? Oh no. No. You can't do me like that. Are they really gonna do it like that? Oh man. This is really cool though, so I gotta give him credit. Even if this is gonna be like an outro song. I was really hyping it up, All right, guys. So that was the final track, the title track of the album, Wound. And this one is off of Despite Exile's newest album with the same name, Wound. So go check the links below to go pick it up if you feel so inclined to. But yeah, this was very similarly to From the Black Beyond. It does have that sort of ethereal, kind of like synthy overtone to it. I almost specifically and inherently thought that I thought they were just gonna hit me with just like a stupid heavy song at the end of the album, but I think it's a nice placement for it. I thought that From the Black Beyond was a good spot to kind of have that at. Though, again, after Hymn of Failure, I thought for sure there was going to be some sort of build up to having like, a heavier song, or it would have been really cool to maybe hear like Wound be like really heavy at the beginning of the song, and then at the end having this real kind of cool like synthy ethereal part at the end to kind of like tie everything together. But in the thought process of kind of like mowing through this record live, I think it's really cool to see a band that is taking more of the ethereal approach and not necessarily going like, okay, well, this is the last song on our album, we really have to just have like the dumbest, heaviest song on the end of the album. And that's probably my intellect just being like, oh well, I would really like a heavy song to kind of just like finish the album off with like an exclamation point. But I think in the context of the album and the way that everything fits together, it does make sense that they would have, again, ended the album off with more of a softer song. I think they could have done a 50-50. I think half of it could have been like heavy, and then the second half of the song could have been like a nice cool like tail end to that. But overall, really enjoyed this album as a whole. I think that this one will be getting a ton of repeat listen from me. I'm not particularly in this space all the time, but I do like branching in and listening to it. And I know a lot of people were really stoked on the new Lorna Shore album, which I haven't checked out yet and I haven't listened to. So, let me know in the comments if you'd like me to listen to the new Lorna Shore record. But, I think for me, it's always cool to see like, especially aspects of music that I'm familiar with. And there was certainly no shortage of moments where I was like, okay, cool, that has like a real like metalcore sort of feel to it, or like this had a really cool like melodic hardcore sort of sound to it. And I will say that my knowledge of deathcore is probably very limited. But I think I'm branching out and getting into more of the heavier music, and I really like listening to kind of like Black Gaze stuff. I really love Deaf Heaven. I think they're fantastic. Obviously, I don't know what you would categorize Loathe as, but they're kind of, I would say, like in that sort of realm as well. But yeah, I think that this album kind of encapsulates, and again, this is only upon one listen. I genuinely feel like with albums for me, especially more currently, the more listens I give to it, the more appreciation I have for it. And I hope that you guys find that same sort of thought process when listening to albums. I understand that everybody has, only a specific amount of hours in a day to listen to music, but I think listening to music with intention, and trying to like, enjoy it in that aspect, I think is really cool. Obviously not everybody's going to enjoy that school of thought, certainly. But for me, like when I listen to these albums live, it's just like, okay, what's my like inherent reaction to this song? And then I think I go back and I really try to like piecemeal my thoughts on this album. And I think for me, getting through the entire thing, I think this is a beautiful journey of great heavy moments. I think there's really some really beautiful melodic moments, not only from like the kind of clean singing aspect of things, but I also love the sort of orchestral like undertones of this entire album. I think that that's really cool. And I think that this band really takes the sort of thought process of enjoying like classic metalcore music and kind of rearranging it and putting in a thought process that makes sense for like this sort of death metal, deathcore sort of sound. And they add like a little cool like symphonic kind of elements, as well as some other more like fast paced, like more faster beats. Like I think there's just a really cool encompassing aspect of this album that I didn't really understand when I got into the first song. I was just like, man, this is going to be like just really heavy, and I think it's just going to be a really just brutal album. And I still think that concept is still true. However, I think the way that they've been able to highlight themselves as artists, and the way that the way that they've been able to pull from different genre pools, I think is really what sets this album apart. There are some parts where, again, have more of that sort of melodic hardcore sort of sound, or have that sort of metalcore sound, or have that OG metalcore sound. And I think that that is really cool, and it keeps them versatile as a band. And I think it keeps this album very versatile, where, I can have my personal favorites on the album, but I think I collectively enjoy it because there's a good mix of everything. I would say my personal favorites off the album, I really think Custodian is my number one favorite, followed by Lament. And then I probably put Scepter at third. And then Riven Mirrors is probably pretty close. And then I think to round it out, I would probably put Sunder at the last of track 5. But I think genuinely, this feels like, to me, an album that you have to listen from front to back. You can't just be like, okay, I want to listen to the singles. I think it's going to make some sense, but I think it's going to make a ton more sense to listen to it from track 1 all the way to track 11, because there's so much thought process behind the way that these songs are kind of put together. And I think there is a way to listen to albums, certainly. And I know that everybody doesn't always follow that sort of thought process, and I'm not saying that you should, but I think if you want to get a lot out of the album in the way that, not only lyrically how it goes, but I think musically too, I think you should definitely listen from front to back. I think it's just the right way to do it, and I think you'll get a lot more out of it. But overall, I think this is one that I'm going to be spinning a ton within the next couple weeks. I think it is going to pretty much end up on my list, but I think it's not going to be really, I don't know. It's hard to explain right now because I think it is a really fantastic album, but because it came out at like the beginning of December and my list comes out at the end of December, that requires a ton of listening in between. So I will definitely try to get as much time and as much listens into this album as I possibly can, just so I can feel like more comfortable in giving you a spot on where I feel like fits on my list. But I definitely feel like if this isn't on the list, it's definitely going to be in the honorable mentions, because it is, despite being at the end of the year, I think is, again, one of the coolest records that I've come across this year, up there with Gloom in the Corner. I think this one has just it has like the heaviest heavies, but then also at the same point, I think there is such a beauty in the melodicness of how this album's put together as well. From the sort of synthy ethereal songs like From the Black Beyond and Wound, to like really dumb, stupid, heavy songs like Custodian and like Scepter and probably like Lament. Those are probably the heaviest of the three, but they're all really like stupidly heavy. And I think that I think there is something for everyone. If you are, more in this sort of heavier genre of music, you're definitely going to get a lot more love with this album specifically. But I would say I think if you were really into death metal and deathcore, then this is absolutely an album to check out if you haven't. So please go give it some love. Let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are on Despite Exile's newest album, Wound. If you listened to this in the past, definitely comment. As well as that, if you just happen to see this and come across it, I would love to know your thoughts on it. Do you think it's a good album? Do you think it's bad? Would love to know your thoughts on it as a whole. As I mentioned, this review will be on YouTube here, and I will leave links below to go check out Despite Exile. If you can go pick up the album, definitely go do so. I have left linked to go give that a listen as well there. But thank you guys for checking this out. I want to give a huge shout out to Chelsea and Jay for sending this over. They didn't have to, but I appreciate they do, and I hope that this is a good review for you guys. Not that I was specifically trying to pander to you guys. I genuinely love this record, and I think it is one that I hope other people check out. So please go give it a listen. Go give it some love, and go give a follow to Despite Exile. They're awesome, and I really want them to come to the States next year. So drive up those numbers. But anyway, if you like the content and you stuck around for this entire time, first of all, I love you and thank you for doing that. If you did not, that's also fine too. But if you like the content, make sure to subscribe, hit that thumbs up, share it. It goes a long way. I've had an absolutely fantastic year doing this, and I hope to be doing a few more of these before the year's over with, maybe a little bit more than a few more, but definitely trying to get my fair share of reviews in before the year is over with. So if you have any suggestion for albums for me to check out, drop them in the comments as well. I'll definitely be keeping an eye out. But thank you guys for watching. Thank you for hanging out. I will be seeing you hopefully in the next video, and hope you guys had a good night and had a good Thanksgiving. I love all of you. Thank you so much for watching and spending the time with me. I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.